This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Don't Mom Alone podcast. I'm your host, Heather McFadden, and this is the place where I get to walk alongside you and connect you with people and resources so you know that you don't mom alone. In this episode number 540, I'm welcoming to the show Ed Uszynski and Brian Smith.
It's a game. Again, I just feel like we need to take smelling salts over this. We've turned it into something bigger, and it has to do with our identity. We haven't even talked about that. It's so enmeshed in our identity and how we think about ourselves as parents and how we expect our kids to think about themselves, kind of on the pecking order is based on their performance. And it's that is demonic at its core. It really is. It's anti-gospel. They're wanting to play the game. They don't necessarily have to commit to wanting to get better at it. They just want to play.
Ed and Brian are joining me today. They are the authors of Away Game, a Christian parent's guide to navigating youth sports. And both of these guys are very familiar with youth sports and even collegiate sports, and they've worked with students for many years. Brian is the author of several books on faith and sports, and he runs the website thechristianathlete.com, and he's pursuing a master's in theology and sports studies. Ed has his PhD and has done Bible teaching, content strategy, and leadership development in sports ministry for over 30 years. And today we are having an honest conversation of our role as parents in this process, because we know there are so many great things that come out of our kids being involved in team sports, and yet things can go awry. And there is a whole industry built on our kids and this activity. We talk about also not only our role with our kids, but what is our role as fans and those who are watching the game? How do we exhibit the fruit of the Spirit from the sidelines? And will our kids fall behind if we don't start early? Is that a myth? What's the truth? You're going to hear lots of practical wisdom, how to integrate spiritual rhythms around practice and game days. I enjoyed this conversation. I have wanted to have something like this for a long time, and it is the first one of its kind on my show in over 12 years of publishing weekly podcasts. So let's get right to it. Here we go. Brian, Ed, welcome to the Don't Mom Alone podcast.
Good to be here, Heather. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, so whenever I have two guests, for the people who are just listening as they're taking a walk or driving kids to school or whatever it is, I'm going to separate y'all out so they can start learning your voice. So Ed, since you got on the call first, first come, first serve. So
all right,
why don't you introduce yourself a little bit about how many kids you have and why you're even interested in the youth sports conversation?
Yeah, great. Yeah, my name is Ed Uszynski, and my wife Amy and I have 4 kids, 3 in college. We have 3 boys and a girl, 3 are in college, and we have a freshman in high school. So we've been saying we get one more shot at this to try to fix everything that we did wrong with the first 3. And we live just outside of Dayton, Ohio. Really, our whole lives have been enmeshed in sports. Amy was a 2-sport athlete in college. She grew up in a huge hockey family up in Minnesota. I grew up on the west side of Cleveland with a high school football coach dad.
Wow.
I became a basketball player. That was kind of what I wound up locking into. And then for the last 30 plus years, and this is how Brian and I met, which you'll hear more about, but for the last 30 plus years, we've worked for a sport ministry called Athletes in Action. Mm-hmm. And so we work with college and professional athletes and just helping them integrate faith into their sport experience. So that's what we've been doing. And then we started coaching, which again, we can get into this, but became a coach 10 years ago and just started to see the youth sports world from a whole different perspective as my kids started playing and I started coaching and was being a parent and listening to parents.
Okay. The
Yeah.
3 kids in college took me back. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
have 2 at a time unless people do a victory lap 5th year.
Yep.
Um, that's a lot. I mean, were they any of them in the same? I'm just thinking about recent move-in. I just have a moment. I'm just having a moment for that
Yeah.
reality.
Me too. Let's just have a moment of silence even for everyone. Yeah, well, the oldest is taking a longer route through. So
Okay.
he needed to take a little break in the middle, and now
Okay.
he's going back. That's how he wound up in there again. And then the youngest has actually already got 30 hours done in high school. So he's one of those kids. And so he may graduate before the older before the older brother. And then the daughter is right on track, and she's graduating this year, hopefully, from Grand Canyon University.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully they're all going to be out within the next year.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's a
just had
lot.
to that's a lot. All right, Brian, you're up. Tell everybody your story and about your family.
Absolutely, yeah. Hi, I'm Brian Smith. I'm about a decade behind Ed, basically in all things. So my wife and I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We have 3 kids, 15, 13, and 10. All of them play sports at various levels. I have been on staff with Athletes in Action for 17 years now. My wife and I are both full-time staff members with AIA. We both ran Division I track and cross country. So I was at Wake Forest University, and my wife was at Wisconsin. I spent 2 years coaching college cross country before I joined staff with Athletes in Action. I am now a high school cross country coach on top of what I do with Athletes in Action. And on top of all of that, I've spent 7 years now coaching just about every single youth sport imaginable. So a lot of experience in sport from 6-year-olds all the way up to 26 to 36-year-olds and everything in between.
Okay, y'all are qualified. You've established your authority. We can now have a conversation. Your parents and you get the industry, and it's not like you're saying sports are bad and we need to avoid them.
Oh
But
gosh, no.
there could be a better way forward, right? Like there could be a better way forward. And I'd love to cover a variety of topics that I have listeners reach out to me about, things that I've processed as a mom. I think when you're a new parent, you want to do it so right. And you're fed this like, oh my gosh, if I don't get them in this sport, their whole future is ruined. I talk to moms a
Yeah.
lot about like 18-month-old soccer. I mean,
Yeah.
do we really have to do that? I remember my oldest, he was 4 years old, his very first game, he asked what channel he was going to be on.
Mm,
And then he just kept posing on the field. And I was like,
yeah.
we may be a performer and not an athlete. And that has proved to be true.
Yeah.
But I think in general, like, let's just start off with involvement. Okay, youth sports exist. Can you talk from, yes, your book is called Away Game, and it's a Christian parent's guide to the youth sports culture. But so from that Christian parent's perspective, and I'd love for you to a little bit put on your hat of having been involved in college sports. Will they fall behind? When should they get involved? That kind of thing. Any thoughts?
Oh wow, that's good, Heather. That's a lot right out of the gate, and it's good. So, well, let's say this. So, one of the things that Brian and I feel like we were confronted with was just the reality that youth sports, and maybe this isn't new information, but it just needs to be said out loud that over the course of the last 50 years, and in particular the last decade or two, youth sports has become a $40 billion industry. Literally, there was just an article in the New York Times with that headline. It just crossed the $40 billion mark. And so, Brian and I have been saying this all along. One of the first things we just need to do as parents is even just be able to step back and look at what this thing is. Most of the time, we just get on the train and start riding it to the end, and it's going fast and furiously. And like you said, things they're telling us what we have to do, and it's starting earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
And you have to specialize sooner and sooner and pay more and more for this, that, and the other. And we've said, okay, wait a second, like what is this thing and where is it trying to take us? And let's even evaluate whether or not we want to be on that train, or how we want to be on the train is really what we've been asking. So that's just step one. Like it's become something very, very different than it was when most of us were growing up. You have to travel now. It's more about the parents than it is the kids in so many different ways, or more about the adults. It's super expensive in ways that it didn't used to be not that long ago. It's like we already said, it used to be very seasonal, sports did, and now it's year round. All of them are year round endeavors. So again, just as parents to recognize that's not the way it was. That's a relatively new phenomenon that we need to adjust to. We need to step back and think about it more than maybe we did when we were growing up playing. So that's the first thing we would probably put on the table. Brian, where would you take the baton from there?
Yeah, in response to the question, maybe like how early should they be involved in sports? We believe that there's an intrinsic goodness of sports, and so let's start with that. Like if my kids are out playing in the yard and they're just throwing a ball around, I don't need to come up with reasons for why that's good. Like I don't need to go, okay, they're working on their throwing motion, their heart rate's elevating. Like no, it's just good because it's good. Play is a good thing. And so from an early age, like I don't know if I'd put a number on it, but I think sport involvement is a really good thing as long as we're not buying into we call it the youth sports industrial complex, as long as we're not buying into this lie that we have to get them involved because if they don't start at the age 4, then by the time they're 7, they're going to be so far behind everybody else. We're getting them involved early because it's fun, because sports are a good thing. It builds really good social habits. If you have a coach who's really good at kind of stewarding those opportunities, it's getting them, now we're getting to like the tangible benefits, is keeping them off screens, at least for that period of time when they're on the field or court, whatever doing. So there's a lot of good that comes with just putting our kids in sport. And Ed, we could probably go back and forth on this too. Like let's address this fear that most parents have of their kid falling behind.
Yeah.
And I feel it too. Just to put my cards on the table, my own experience, I played every sport imaginable growing up. I got cut from everything freshman year in high school. I did not start running until I was a sophomore. By the time I was a senior, I was one of the best runners in the state and the country, and I got a full ride scholarship to run in college. So I started running sophomore year in high school. I was way behind everybody else who started when they were 10. But if you're good enough, you will get found out. If you have, and Ed, you can take it from here. If you have, I hate using this word because it just feels a little cliche when we're talking sport, like the it factor. Like you don't need mom and dad to wake you up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't need them to sign you up for the next opportunity. You just intrinsically want it. You don't need them pushing you. You have this desire inside to push yourself. And you have a blend of just God-given gifts in whatever sport you're pursuing, that's going to take you so much further than mom and dad forcing you into a club or an elite squad or a travel team hoping that you're going to make it.
Yeah. We've been saying for years, and let's hit it on the head. They'll fall behind. And I just want to say we'll fall let's say this again too. I'm in Ohio.
Yeah.
You're in Texas, Brian's in Michigan. Look, we understand, like, especially football, basketball, the big sports, those are baseball. Yeah, those are huge. Yeah, and there's a gazillion kids playing. And again, you really do feel the industry effect around those sports in the States and the parts of the country where we're at. So we're not naive to that. But here's what I can say now that I've got 3 kids in college, one of whom played sports and one of whom played basketball. The other 2 did not. There are so many things that are outside of our control from the age of 10 until they're 16 or 17. Okay. There are so many things that are outside of our control that will affect whether or not they wind up playing on the high school team or not. Kids that move in and out of the district, their own personal interest in continuing to get better, like Brian said, a coach that likes them or doesn't like them, the politics that go in. You want to talk about, could we just do that for the whole podcast? Just school politics and community
100%.
politics.
Yeah.
And
size of the school. I mean, are you a 6A? Which I learned what that means. It's how many kids are in the high school and you qualify for, anyway, a higher,
so we end up
more competitive.
Stressing.
Yeah.
we end up stressing again. And Brian and I keep saying this, we feel the stress inside our bodies too. And again, we need to step back from it and say, I don't think this is a lie, that if I don't get them in the right program when they're 12, they're not going to make it or not be able to keep up. That's just not true. And they may not be able to keep up, but it won't be because they didn't get in that program.
Yeah. And I would say for myself, I probably erred on the side of it doesn't matter. Don't put them in it. Like the middle school required one sport a season, and we did that. But when my oldest moved into high school and he said, oh, I want to play baseball, and it was a small Christian school, I'm like, great, play baseball. And he tried out and he didn't make the team. And he said, Mom, I played like a fifth grader, because that was the last time he played baseball. And I thought, oh my gosh, I failed. I should have put you on a club team in middle school, even though, your middle school didn't have baseball. I should have found a team because you were interested in that. And then you would have been with friends who are good influences, and you would have had social connection. Like, I just started blaming myself on his whole social trajectory, and life choices were a problem because I failed in not doing the research and getting him involved. And he's in college now. He's fine. It's all worked out. But I do remember vividly that moment of like, oh my gosh, I messed this up, as if I had control in areas that I don't have control.
Yeah. And you didn't, because even if you had tried that, like, this is what's so complicated. Yeah. There's a million teams to get on. How do you know you're getting on the right one? Yeah. There's a million coaches, and it really matters what coach you wind up. There's a million configuration of kids. And who knows if he gets on a team where the position that he plays maybe already has 4 kids that are better than him at that position. So even on the club team, there's all these dynamics that go into what that experience is going to be like for them that you can't predict. You can't predict it.
This episode is sponsored by Green Chef. Hands down, fall is my favorite. From the temperatures, the fall leaves, football, just feels a little more fun. And also, it is a perfect time to bring my healthy habits into focus. I even met with a nutritionist last week for my heart health, and I feel like Green Chef is the perfect place, the number one meal kit for the clean eating I'm desiring to do. Now, what's great is, one, I spend less time planning and buying, and even less time in the kitchen, because Green Chef has done all that work for me. Also, if you want even less time in the kitchen, they have new heat and eat meals where you can get a delicious, wholesome meal in just 3 minutes. Or if you're looking for salads in just 5 minutes, protein-filled breakfast, or nutrient-rich smoothies, they have that option as well. But the thing I love is their 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options. They make it so easy to find a meal to fit your lifestyle. So my nutritionist recommended I eat Mediterranean, and they have that option. If you're gluten-free, if you're plant-based, if you're protein-heavy, or even gut and brain health, they also have calorie-smart choices. The recipes change every week, and then they have week-to-week flexibility. So if you're going to be out of town or you don't need as many dinners, you can adjust your plan to match your mood and your schedule. I use this, and I think you should too. I was looking at their meal plans for this week, and I saw that they have chicken with lemon crema. It has a rice pilaf with raisins and almonds and sauteed broccoli. That sounds so yummy. They have chicken with roasted red pepper sauce and garlic kale rice, almonds, feta cheese. If any of this sounds delicious to you and you just want it delivered right to your door, go check out Green Chef. I have a deal for you. Make this fall your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head at greenchef.com/50alone. So it's 50 the numbers, and spell out alone. Use that code 50alone to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's 50alone at greenchef.com/50alone. So it's us as parents reminding ourselves of the overall sovereignty of God and the overall trajectory of our kids. And like Brian, you said, like their giftedness and that's going to show up. That's going to show up, and just trusting God in the process. Okay, let's move into, so that's our kids and that's their journey with sports. Let's talk about the actual games and us as a guide for Christian parents. I told y'all I was at an athletic meeting for this school, this high school, and they presented that there's a new initiative in Texas called the Texas Way. It's Texas pride in sportsmanship. And we're going to do 3 things. We're going to respect others, control ourselves, and have a spirit of competition. This is a secular initiative, but it sounds like maybe possibly what you're writing about in your book of like, could we do these things as Christian parents at a game? What would you say like to the parents who are maybe their kid makes the team, we're sitting at the game? Talk to us about our behavior.
I would be really curious for this Texas initiative, which is great. Like we champion that. We're all for it.
Yeah.
But when the whistle blows and the game starts, and then the whistle blows again, and the ref makes, or an official makes a bad call, and a parent says something which goes against the Texas values of sportsmanship, where's the accountability? Like that's where it comes in. Like, are other parents holding these parents accountable? Are people getting kicked out of the stadium? Like it becomes like really good platitudes that we can put on the wall that make us look like we're really intentional in these areas. But if there's not accountability, if we're being real, I think we're just going to keep doing what we always do. And so I think one helpful tip for parents, whether you would consider yourself a Christian or not, and we write about this in the book, is to just try showing up at a game and being silent for the entire game. Like, you don't need to do this for the rest of your life, but just try it for a game and see what happens. And I think what you will notice is sports become a really, really stressful environment for kids because well-intentioned parents just can't keep their mouths shut, and they always have something to say. And so it's at a soccer game, it's go, 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 kick, pass, shoot it. No, don't do that. And it's like, they're trying to do it. They don't need a parent telling them to pass or to shoot or to run. They are running. You don't need to tell them to go. They're already going. But it just creates this symphony of sound, which adds stress to the environment. And so we would just encourage parents, just show up, not in like a judgy way, but begin to take inventory of what is said, and really the culture that's created just by the adults in the stands or on the field, and see if that's one conducive to kids enjoying what's going on the field.
The stress level to me at a soccer or football game or an outdoor sport versus a basketball game, I literally have to look at my phone. I cannot watch the game. I cannot. I am silent, or I'm talking to my friend, which my kids are like, Mom, you weren't even watching the game. I said, I can't. I am overwhelmed with the stress. Like, 100% agree with you. All of that extra noise. Even if you're a parent who's following the rules of like only speak positively, cheer on the team, all of that. Yeah, I can see it's a cacophony of chaos.
Yeah.
Sound. Yeah.
It creates stress. It's so interesting, Heather. I don't know, it might have been a decade ago that Brian and I first came across an initiative that had happened somewhere in the country where they were having silent soccer tournaments, where literally that was going to be the entire weekend for everybody. And we were like, wow, never even thought about what it would be like to try to be quiet. And when I tried to be quiet at a game, I realized 2 things. One, how much I talk and yell stuff during a game. Like, wasn't even aware of it. But 2, I really started noticing how much everybody else was yelling things and the conflicting messages that are being yelled. And again, so it's just a matter of becoming aware of what my presence is doing to my kids and having conversations with them. Like, I have one son, the youngest son, who's extremely good at expressing what he's feeling and experiencing. And he just said, Dad, I don't want to hear your voice at a game.
Wow.
I don't even want to hear you cheering for me because it distracts me. I love that you're there. I want you to be there, but your voice distracts me. I'm trying to concentrate getting over the hurdle. I'm trying to remember the play, and all these other parents are screaming things at me, which is already distracting me, but you just kind of put me over the edge. And I was like, it's so helpful to hear that. Hurts a little bit, I think, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm just trying to help, but it's like, well, if you really want to help, then shut up. Shut up is what he's asking you to do.
And Heather, what we're trying to do in the book is to say, like, really, if any group of people should be motivated and not need accountability from officials of a state to do this well, it should be Christ followers. It should be Christians who have biblical mandates to uphold things like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, self-control. Like,
And dwelt by the Spirit to give us the power to do that. Like,
yes.
Yes.
Like,
if
we more than
we're not doing this beforehand, drinking the drinks, the other spirits that are decreasing the spirit. I mean, that was a conversation at the athletics meeting. Like, hey, y'all with your Yetis at the game. I mean, it's
Okay.
a whole culture of bringing a drink to a middle school game or a 5-year-old's game. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I got off track. But yes,
No,
the
that's
Holy
good.
Spirit motivating us to demonstrate these characteristics so we look different, because I know we have a Christian middle school that my kids go to, and it is very off-putting if we're playing, let's say, the local Jewish middle school or even, a public school, and we're acting so poorly. It is embarrassing to me.
Yeah. And we are called to live a Romans 12 type of life, to not be transformed or not conform to the pattern of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so, like, that, for Christians, that's our motivation, is that God is telling us we should not look like everybody else. But unfortunately, again, let's say well-intentioned parents, we just get into these environments and it's almost like we compartmentalize our faith and say, hey, we've chosen not to go to church on the weekend, and so we're not going to live out our biblical values either in this moment.
We compartmentalize our faith, and you just said this, Heather, we professionalize the youth sport environment. So even just think about what you said. And again, Brian and I have been kicking this around a lot, even in the last few months, that what we've done is we've given ourselves permission when we go to a professional game, you go to a Cowboys game, or even a big time college game, go to an Ohio State or a Michigan game, and we give ourselves permission to yell and scream and drink and maybe kind of get to the edge of ourselves and kind of be at the boundaries of what socialization would allow us to do normally, right? We yell
Paid big
things
money for those tickets, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, my son's at Tennessee. Those are not cheap tickets. I'll tell you what, Neyland Stadium is no joke.
Yes, and it's an atmosphere, and again, we just there's sort of a mob mentality that
Yeah.
comes out, and
Yep.
we've given ourselves, even Christians, permission to act any old kind of way in those settings. Okay, now just think about what you just said. We're bringing that down to the 8-year-old soccer game, and really are acting that way, screaming whatever we want at the
Which we've
refs, at
also
the
paid a lot of
kids,
money for.
which we've also paid more money for.
Oh, the
And
old
so
money thing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so just again to be aware, we're all prone to it. Most of us are prone to that, and just are not thinking about how we, as Brian said, we're actually leaving our faith on the sidelines. And it's like, no, what would it look like to actually be a Christian in this space and act like a Christian?
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean you don't compete. It doesn't mean that you're not very involved emotionally, potentially, but it would put a check on what I say and how I say it and when I say it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the kinds of things that I'm paying attention to evaluate my child, which won't just be their skill performance. It'll be their virtue performance. It'll be the way they carried themselves and the way they interacted with other people. Like, that's part of the dynamic of being a Christian that most of us just don't think about in the context of sports.
Okay, talk to us a little bit, because I think this goes hand in hand with dealing with our own dreams, desires, future, because I think when we haven't done the work, whether I'm not going to say it's just dads, because I've been around enough to know that moms can get just as invested in this as dads. But do speak to the dads who might be listening, or that their wives made them listen to this. For those dreams, like maybe they never made the team and they're really hopeful. They see they've got this 6'5", 300-pound kid who could possibly go pro. It's like, well, how do we deal with our own stuff? Because I do think that's what makes us set aside the Christian values in the hat and put on the competitive drive and ambition. We kind of lose our perspective. did you guys get caught up in that yourselves, or can you like speak to that? And what have you done to keep yourself in check, like some practical things at the game?
We use the example in the book of it's an old Napoleon Dynamite clip with
Napoleon
Uncle
Dynamite.
Rico. If you remember good old Uncle Rico, he's sitting
Yes,
on the
living
back
his glory
porch,
days. Yeah.
sitting on the back
Yes.
porch with his nephew Kip, trying to make a bet if he could throw a football over the mountain or not. And at one point, he just kind of like gazes off into the mountain range and says, "Man, if Coach would have just put me in senior year, we'd have won state. Not a doubt in my mind." And when we watched that clip on YouTube, when we were kind of kicking it back and forth, it's really interesting reading the comments because there's a bunch of like 40 to 50-year-old dudes who grew up just like loving this movie and thought scenes like that were hilarious. But if you read the comments now, it's these same guys who are like, and they all say the same thing. When I watched this movie when I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, I thought this scene was hilarious. Now I watch it and I totally get where Uncle Rico is coming from, and it makes me kind of sad.
Wow.
And that, like, we all have probably a little bit of Uncle Rico in us of just, man, if we would have just gotten a different opportunity, or maybe if mom and dad would have put me in this league, or if coach would have given me this opportunity, or if I wouldn't have got injured junior year, there's always these what ifs that come with sport. And if we're not careful, we bring those what ifs to our kids' experience. And we, again, well-intentioned, we want the best for our kids, but we try to make them live out of our what ifs and our mistakes instead of just letting them experience sport for themselves. And it kind of goes back to what Ed was talking about before. We want to control the process because feeling like we have control will put our kids on this imaginary linear path where they're just going to get better and better and better. But you never know when you run into a coach who just doesn't like them, or maybe the kid stops growing, right? Maybe everybody else surpasses them. Maybe they're just not as good as we thought they were. So there's freedom, and that's really what we're trying to communicate with parents. There's immense freedom when we can just take a breath, put our kid in sport, and just let it play out how it's going to play out.
We've been saying this too, Heather. I mean, getting married, let's just go even back a step. You get married and it exposes, well, I'll personalize it. It exposed areas in my soul and things that I didn't even really know about myself by living with Amy, and being in each other's space all the time brought out all kinds of darkness from inside of me that needed to be sanctified. If we can keep using the kind of our Christian language, it needed to be transformed, like Brian said. It needed to be changed. It needed to be broken. Well, having kids just took that to a whole nother level, doesn't it? I mean, it just exposes all kinds of stuff that's hiding out in the shadows of my soul. And so I see anger issues when I'm at a game. I see resentment that I have. I see regret, like Brian talked about. I see, wishing that things had been different for me in some kind of way. I see frustration that I feel even towards other people now in my life that I take out in the youth sport context. This is my venue to get out all my frustrations. And that's not really a healthy way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just say that? That's not the best place to try to get your frustrations out, but it may be a good place just to see what's actually going on inside your soul. So then what do you do with that? I've needed to talk to my friends. I need to talk to my guy friends about that. Like, what's really going on inside of me and what needs to change? And I need some help. Maybe I need to read a book, or I need to get some counseling, or I just need some dudes in my life to help me work through something so that I'll stop, expressing it in youth sports settings in a way that's not benefiting me or my kids.
And I think there's like a humility in even saying like, I've got a problem, or people are telling you you've got a problem and you're not hearing it. No, I just really care. I'm really passionate. I really want him to succeed or her to succeed. And it's like that humility to say, no, this is damaging. And it may be humility that you're humbled because your kid quits the sport that you thought, finally, he's gonna do the thing that I've always wanted. And you guys talk about the silent killer, like the thing that actually can cause our kids to quit is dependent on our behavior, and it's at a certain time. It's after the game. So talk to us about that, like that car ride home. What should we say instead of all the criticisms or all the what they could have done differently that comes natural?
Yep, it's the car ride home. Yep.
Yeah.
So if listeners are familiar with the phrase "all is well that ends well," there's some psychological backing behind that. There's a principle called the peak end rule, which shortened version of it is we remember experiences in our life largely by how that experience ends.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. And so you think of like you take your kids to Disney World or something like that, and you like the car ride home from Disney World is just like everybody's hot and tired and
Exhausted,
screaming.
overstimulated. Yeah.
Parents and kids alike are going to be like, "Oh, I don't know if we're going to do that again," right? But they forget all of like the the rides and everything else that was fun about it. In youth sports, what's happening is kids are remembering the totality of their youth sports experience mainly on how it ends, and how it ends is this car ride home with, again, let's keep saying it, well-intentioned parents who we have been discipled ourselves by ESPN and an over analysis culture of sport where I feel as a parent like I love sports and I want to talk about it with my kids. I'm at practice with my 10-year-old watching him play every single day football for 2 hours. I'm just sitting on the sidelines. And all I want to do in the car ride home is have a conversation about everything that just happened.
Yeah.
And not because like I want to see him become the best ever. I just like talking about sports. I want to talk about what happened and have a conversation about it. I started a couple years ago just asking a simple question to my kids at the end of all their games and practices. The second they get in the car, I say, "Is there anything that happened during practice or the game today that you want to talk about?" Do you want to guess what they say 99% of the time? No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nothing.
I'm
I'm
good.
good. I'm
I'm
solid.
good. And not because they're afraid of what dad might say. They just don't care anymore. They're on to the next thing. They want to get on a screen, or they want to listen to music, or they want to get ice cream. It's me who cares. Like I want to make sure that they have learned everything that they needed to learn in that sport. And so what's happening is we're criticizing, we're critiquing, we're coaching, and our kids are receiving that as, I'm falling short of mom and dad's standards. Every time I get into the car, I feel like I'm falling short, and it's making them remember their sport experience in an unfavorable way.
By the way, it makes me angry that my kids say no. Let me just put that on record.
Yes, come on.
Because like, why would you not want to fix what's broken about what you just did?
But if you think about like the football coaches, it's not like they don't watch the film that night.
They
don't watch the film 2 days later or maybe the next week. Like they go over it eventually, but they give them a little space that night.
They give them space, but here's the other crazy thing, Heather. The whole question of why don't you want to fix it? And it's like, it's a game. Like, again, I just feel like we need to like take smelling salts over this. We've turned it into something bigger, and it has to do with our identity. We haven't even talked about that. Like it's so enmeshed in our identity and how we think about ourselves as parents, and how we expect our kids to think about themselves, kind of on the pecking order, is based on their performance. And it's like, that is demonic at its core. It really is. It's anti-gospel. They're wanting to play the game. They don't necessarily have to commit to wanting to get better at it. They just want to play. Mm-hmm. So again, it's this, I need to like run the tape back and say, where is this coming from inside of me that I feel the pressure for them to get it right? And why am I so angry that they don't want to? Again, it's coming from this youth sport culture that's teaching us a value system. It's pressing us in that direction, and we need to get off that train, like we talked about at the beginning, and say, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it in a different kind of way. And really what the majority of our book is about is not even critiquing youth sports. It's about saying, here's how to have discipleship conversations. Yeah, here's how to do it.
This episode is sponsored by Thrive Cosmetics. Now, y'all know I'm a big fan of Thrive Cosmetics, and now that it feels like I'm doing more work now that we're back in the fall, but I'm thankful that I have products that I know work and keep up with the fuller days. With Thrive Cosmetics, I know, one, that I'm choosing clean, 100% vegan, cruelty-free, skin-loving ingredients in these products, but also I know they work. I mean, truly, truly, they work. Whether I'm using their Brilliant Eye Brightener for the corners of my eyelids, or I'm using their Liquid Lash Extension Mascara, it stays on all day. And I have the comfort of knowing that with Thrive Cosmetics, they give back. For every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates products and funds to help communities thrive. And I am thrilled that they have given over $150 million in product and cash donations to 600 plus giving partners. So your purchase really does make an impact. And I'm a big fan of all those three things working together. So let me tell you about the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara, the one I can't stop talking about. It's a vegan tubing mascara with over 40,000 5-star reviews. It has 6 different shades. It does last all day. It's the only mascara I've found to truly last all day and not clump or smudge or flake or get down under my eyes. I think it also helps my eyelashes grow. One, because it wraps around each lash like a little tube, and so it comes off really easily, so it's not breaking when I take off my mascara at the end of the day. And it also has ingredients in it that support my lashes to grow longer and stronger and become healthier over time. So maximize your look with minimal effort. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/DMA. Get an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, spelled CAUSEMETICS.com/DMA. With all this conversation about our feelings and anger, I have something to share with you. The anger moms feel is so common and yet seldom addressed. In the book Untriggered, Amber Leah shares encouragement for every mom longing for freedom from anger and the self-condemnation that often accompanies it. This 60-day devotional touches on heart issues like releasing comparison with other moms, becoming a results-free mom, resisting comparison of your children, gaining confidence in listening to the Holy Spirit, embracing the gift of motherhood, and so much more. If you dreamed and prayed for your children, yet you regularly feel frustrated, triggered, overwhelmed as a mom, this book is for you. Amber has written a sensitive and powerful book that will speak to your heart and point you to Jesus. Untriggered, 60 Days of Transformation for Moms Who Struggle with Anger is available at moodypublishers.com or wherever you get good books. Yeah, and I know you guys even talk about like how do you approach officials or referees, before the game and humanize them and I'd love to hear like what are some spiritual rhythms that you kind of have found worked for your family without it being awkward or like forced, but that do keep your whole family in check. So we're like in the world but not of it. Like we're not getting caught up in all the frenzy and the ambition overload and earthly success in sports equaling our worth and value because you can have that major injury and then where's your identity when we don't want to set up our kids for that kind of hard. I mean, we're always trying to protect our kids from hard, but like sometimes we're setting them up that this thing is so idolized that when it falls, it's everything. And that can be devastating. So what have you all done?
Yeah, Brian, I want you to talk about that in the context of the kids, but I will say this in light of everything we just said, a spiritual rhythm that I need to have as a parent, recognizing everything that we've said in this half hour. One of the places that I need to have some Devo time is in the parking lot before I go into the stadium.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That I need to either have just some quiet time myself or after we drop the kid off, maybe me and Amy just need to talk about what's going to be our approach to how we sit at this game today. We've literally had these conversations. Let's ask God to help us control our tongue or to pick up the conversation that we started with, so-and-so parent. Let's talk to God before we go into this space, knowing that our tendency is going to be to leave him out and to revert to some ungodly ways of being. What better place to say, God, let's take a time out. Would you be here with us in a way that we feel your presence and we submit to you in this space? That's kind of a radical idea.
It's a surrender of sorts. It's like, okay, your way over my way in this situation. Is there anything you tell yourself? Like, would you literally tell yourself like your way over my way, whatever the outcome? Like, is there a phrase you say or like that parents could use maybe for themselves?
I'm glad you asked that. For me personally, I'm just saying, God, give me perspective and help me remember that this doesn't matter as much as I feel like it does. Like,
Mm.
help me focus on the stuff that does matter. That's what I've needed to say to myself. Maybe Brian's got some other things, but again, that's putting ourselves in check before we try to say or do anything with our kids
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
space. Go ahead, Brian. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I'm learning, Heather, that I need to fix some things in this space, and let me explain. Our family prayers when it comes to sport, I think, are really good and really helpful for our kids to see that what we're after is not just performance, but we're wanting our kids to embody who Jesus is when they're out playing. And so we're praying for things like, God, would you help them to see the people who are sitting on the bench? God, would you help give them eyes to see people who may be discouraged and give them words to speak life into them? God, would you keep them safe? God, would you help them to be respectful to officials? So we're like praying all the right things as a family and giving us like the markers that the Smiths are going to celebrate as a family. But oftentimes, like when my freshman gets home from football practice, I'm not asking questions that align with those prayers. I'm
Oh,
not saying, "Hey, was
interesting.
there anyone at practice today that just seemed down?
It's
Hey,
good,
did you
Brian.
encourage anybody today?" What am I asking? How did practice go?
How was your 50 today?
How'd you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Exactly. How'd you
Did
do?
you
Yep.
catch any passes today?
Oh,
How to
yeah.
go on? How to go on defense? Do you feel like you're learning the system? Which those aren't bad questions, right? Like we're connecting. It's a good conversation. But there's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
It's
praying for
really
all of the
tough.
right
Yeah.
things, but I'm also missing an incredible opportunity to say like, "Hey, are you beginning to habituate this stuff in your own life? Are you beginning to see what we're praying for every single day?" So that's one where I'm just realizing more and more like the stuff in this book.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote about all this stuff. What you celebrate, your kids will replicate. And I just need to do a better job celebrating things like that and noticing. My big win yesterday, as I'm watching my 10-year-old play football, and he's adopted. He's got fast twitch muscles that the rest of the Smiths just don't have. And I'm having this vision of like, if I could just get a remote control and control him out there, like he's got everything inside him to be so much better than everybody else. Like if he was just this video game avatar, I could dominate right now.
Yes.
But Judah doesn't care. Like he doesn't care like I want him to care.
Yep.
And yesterday at practice, I was like, that's okay. Like he's sitting as a defensive back when the play starts and he's not moving. He's just like letting himself get blocked. And I'm wanting to get the controller out and like get around him. Like you can make that tackle. He's having fun though with his buddies. And there's gonna be a place in a conversation for like, hey, you can really help your team out if you move when the ball is snapped and get around that block. But it needs to be team focused and less about you are falling so far behind.
An
It needs about
expectation I have,
opportunity to
or
help a team and not shaming him for where he's at. But I'm like, he's not an avatar. He's he's like the most sensitive kid in the world, and football is probably not going to be his sport, and that's okay. He's having fun with his friends right now.
yeah.
But my blood boils inside because I see what could be if he had this it factor.
It,
Maybe he will later in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's what's crazy though, especially you learn this as coaches as you listen to parents give their feedback. Every
We haven't
parent
even
is
talked about
watching.
that yet. Yeah.
We haven't. Every parent is watching their kid and is seeing that same thing.
Yep.
Every parent is watching even their kid who is extremely uncoordinated and is like the worst on the team and sees something very different. If they
That's
only
true.
did this, they would be in position to start, or they're so much better than these other two kids, okay? Because our view of them is so skewed. So even that, I can just imagine listeners saying it just sounds completely unrealistic to not want to fix that stuff or to correct, or that I would be actually helping my kid by not pointing those things out. We're telling you, I feel like the more Brian and I do this, the more direct we're feeling about it. We're telling you that your correction is not what's going to fix it for them in the long run.
Yep.
What it may do, though, is break your relationship with them in such a way that they don't want to come back home for Thanksgiving when they're 25. And let that sink in. That's what Brian and I are saying is at stake. that it's way more important, one, that we maintain relationship where they see that, like the prodigal, like the father in the prodigal story, that when the child comes home, remember when the son comes home and he's been doing all these terrible things, what he finds is a father who says, I don't love you on the basis of your performance.
Yeah, we're good.
Or when you've done well or when you've done poorly, I'm actually loving you on the basis of an identity that doesn't change. Now, we need to ask ourselves, how are we communicating that to our kids if all of the time we're giving them feedback on their performance? And Brian talks about this all the time, how even our body language changes after the game or during the game. Our kids see that when we look sullen because they didn't play or they played lousy or the team
We become
lost.
the older brother in the story.
We're like
talk about that. Yeah. Talk about that, Brian. What do you mean when you say that we become
I mean,
the
what
older
was
brother?
the older brother was, I did everything right, he didn't, and so he deserves punishment. He deserves some sort of wrath. If anything, he deserves some sort of negativity from your end, because that's normative worldly behavior. If you perform poorly, you get treated poorly. But that's anti-gospel.
It's anti-gospel.
It's the opportunity available for us almost every single practice and almost every single game to be gospel type people with our kids, who they come back, whether they play really, really well or really, really poorly, they should experience us as parents as, hey, you're still my daughter, you are still my son, and I love you regardless of what happened. There may be some things we need to talk about on the field today, but my love and affection for you does not change based on what just happened 60 minutes ago.
It's so interesting you guys said that, because literally that was one of the 5 points that the coaches were telling parents at this meeting was, don't let athletics ruin your relationship with your kid. They had to spell it out, and then let them fail, encourage them during those lows. Let them make the mistakes, let them make the errors. I want to say before we go, because this is Don't Mom Alone and we talk about community a lot, is I'm a big fan. I think I did a whole episode, just like a solo episode. I'm a big fan on me cheerleading your kids in whatever sport, whatever thing, seeing them thrive, maybe not win the game, but I just want to see them in their giftedness thriving. And I want to celebrate that alongside you, because I am for the overall kingdom building. And if the kingdom building involves your kid being a professional athlete at a college level or pro even, I mean, we have friends that, are involved in the Chiefs, there's a lot of gospel sending out through that empire. And God's gonna respond well to that. And I want to be on your overall team. I don't want sports or athletics or competition between my kid and your kid to get in the way of our relationship as moms together.
Good.
So I just want to remind moms of that. If you have never heard me say that, get those glasses on of cheering for your friends' kids too.
Amen.
It's so good, Heather. It becomes contagious. It really does. It's because we've got a pack of friends now with the ninth grader that we're with at football games, we're with at track meets, basketball games. And I have very intentionally, again, you already heard me say, my son says he doesn't want to hear me talking directly to him. Okay, then let me get really invested in everybody else's kids. And it's really interesting the effect that has on the other parents, because one, they feel loved. They feel like staying when your kid's done at the track meet, what happens when you stay an extra half hour to watch their kid finish instead of just getting up and leaving? Everybody wants to leave.
Every
we all
track
get it
parent knows exactly what you're talking about.
Come on, we do.
The longest day of your life.
Yeah, it's like we've already been here 2.5 hours. What's another 20 minutes so that I can support their child? It's created a different atmosphere in the crowd. It really has. There's a love there, both amongst the Christians and the non-Christians, that are saying, okay, well, we could do this differently together.
Yeah.
And it would just relieve so much stress on us, because I know you're going to cheer for my kid and pull for my kid. I don't have to be the one that's always trying to lift them up or, trying to establish that they're this, that, or the other.
Just so you know.
So just so you know,
We've
right?
had some colleges scouting him out,
Yes.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, you got to get this book. It's a great guide, all the things. Do you talk at all about when the kids are super competitive, how to talk to them about their competitiveness? Or is this mainly focused on the parents' guide? Because that's what we've talked about today. But I was just thinking, like, sometimes my kid gets in the car and he's pretty worked up and he's pretty competitive. And I'm having to
Yeah, so the book is going to it's for parents to help
Mhm.
see opportunities that are taking place on the field, court, pool, whatever it is, and turn those into discipleship moments. And
okay.
so, yeah, if your kid is ultra competitive and that's playing out in ways that are either healthy or unhealthy, what we're trying to do in this book is say, hey, start paying attention to what happens when the heat gets turned up and your kid gets super competitive. How do they treat other people?
Yeah.
Are they treating people differently? Or maybe they short with people who usually they have a lot of patience and grace with? And you don't need to go all bad on them. It becomes a beautiful opportunity to say, hey, I've noticed that when your team is down by 2 touchdowns late, you seem to just check out. And
Sulk. Yeah.
yeah, how do you think maybe as a Christian, we should handle situations like that?
Mm.
Um, and so we're using whatever we see on the field, competitiveness, the opposite of competitiveness, and that all becomes beautiful opportunities for us to do what we should do best, and that is bring our kids up in the love and favor of the Lord.
So good. Okay, y'all, we've linked to everything in the show notes. Y'all can connect to Brian and Ed. And thank you so much for having this great conversation. I've really enjoyed talking with both of you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Yeah, we have too. And we hope that you've already said this. We hope that people work this out in community. Like that was our goal from the beginning, is that people would get this book, at least as a starter, to give language to how to have conversations about this together. Not so much on our own. Obviously, we talked a lot about individual change that needs to happen, but this is going to get worked out in our corner of the bleachers as we lock arms with each other,
That's good.
not trying to do it alone.
I love that. Yeah. Get this book for your community group. Work it out. Work it out. Keep each other accountable. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Heather.
I am praying that you were encouraged by this conversation about what is yours to do and what is not yours to do, and also that it didn't step on any toes. I know that for some, this is a core value in families is their sports involvement, their kids in sports, and my prayer was that it would not take away from the value that is for your family, but only just encourage you, the light you can shine in those places that you have been assigned to be. So I'm going to pray over us and this conversation and our families as we go through this school year. Lord, I thank you for Brian and Ed. I thank you for their consistent work in this specific area. I pray, Lord, that as parents, we would recognize our own beliefs we're holding or challenges we are having in our own hearts and minds when it comes to our kids' involvement in any activity. But particularly with sports, I pray that you would help us to be filled with your spirit when we walk into those spaces, whether it's a court or a field or wherever it is, that we would shine a light for you, that others would notice a change and that others would be drawn to you because of the fruit that they see in us through your spirit. I pray, Lord, for our kids. I pray that we could support them to be the best that you made them to be in the places that you have already planned for them to go, and that we can trust you in that process, and that even if it feels like a bigger stage than we want them to be in, or in a sport that we're fearful they'll get hurt in, that we can trust, God, that you are not surprised and you are not concerned, and that you have, even through the disappointments and the failures and the pain and the injuries, that you have not left the steering wheel. We can trust you. We can believe that you are working in them to draw them close to you, to complete your will in and through them, and that we could, when we start feeling that fear, we could hand it back over to you and be filled with your love and ask you for guidance and what we need to know for that child and what we need to do in that moment. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I feel like I need to pull up my little podcast planner because I can't remember offhand what next week's episode is. It's going to be great, whatever it is. Hold on. Hold the phone. It's going to be, a conversation I had with Mark Gregston. He has been working with teenagers for 50 years, and we're going to talk about support for families who may be in crisis or your child is struggling. And so join me back here next week. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Don't Mom Alone podcast. If you're wanting to connect with more people and more resources to help remind you that you're not alone, head over to don'tmomalone.com. That's where you'll also find show notes with any links mentioned by our guests. Most importantly, I want you to know the good news, the great news that you're not alone because God has promised to always be with you. With faith in Jesus Christ, the one who died for you and rose again, Jesus said when he left, he was going to leave a helper, a comforter, to be with us. God in us. Moms, that's superpower. So while you're washing dishes at your kitchen sink, while you're driving to and from work, while you're feeding that baby late into the night, while you're cleaning sticky floors, God promises to be just as present with you as when you're worshiping in a church pew. As it says in Zephaniah 3:17, the Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He takes great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love, and he will rejoice over you with singing. Now that's good news. Have a great day.